Have you ever heard of a woman who was called the most beautiful person in the world, but whose greatest achievement had nothing to do with beauty? This is the incredible story of Hedy Lamarr, a woman admired by millions for her stunning appearance. Yet hidden behind that glamorous image was a brilliant mind that would help shape the future of modern technology. Her story sounds almost unbelievable. How could Hollywood actors become an inventor whose ideas would one day contribute to Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS? Let's find out. Hedy Lamarr was born as Hedwig Eva Maria Kiesler in Vienna, Austria, in 1914. From a young age, she displayed remarkable curiosity. Her father often took her on long walks and explained how machines worked. He encouraged her to ask questions and understand the world around her. Those early lessons sparked a lifelong fascination with science and engineering. As a teenager, Hedy became interested in acting. Her extraordinary beauty quickly attracted attention. Soon, she was appearing in European films and becoming a rising star. In 1933, she appeared in a controversial movie called Ecstasy. The film caused international attention and made her famous almost overnight. But fame brought challenges. A wealthy Austrian arms dealer named Friedrich Mandl became obsessed with her. The two eventually married. At first, the marriage seemed luxurious. They attended lavish parties and met powerful politicians and military leaders. However, behind closed doors, Hedy felt trapped. Mandl was controlling and possessive. He reportedly tried to prevent her from acting and restricted much of her freedom. Yet something important happened during this difficult period. At gatherings with military officials and weapons experts, Hedy listened carefully to discussions about military technology. She learned about radio communications, weapon systems, and engineering concepts. Without realizing it, she was gaining knowledge that would later change her life. Eventually, Hedy could no longer tolerate the controlling relationship. In one of the most dramatic moments of her life, she escaped from her husband and fled Europe. She traveled to London, where a chance encounter changed everything. There she met Louis B. Mayer, the powerful head of MGM Studios. Mayer saw star potential immediately. He offered her a contract and brought her to Hollywood. It was there that she became known as Hedy Lamarr. Hollywood quickly fell in love with her. Audiences were mesmerized by her beauty. Magazines called her the most beautiful woman in the world. She starred in successful films and became one of the biggest stars of the era. But there was a problem. People only saw her appearance. Very few realized how intelligent she truly was. While other stars spent evenings at glamorous parties, Hedy often spent time reading scientific books and experimenting with inventions. She even created a small workshop in her home. Then came World War II. Like many people, Hedy watched the conflict unfold with concern. She wanted to help. One problem particularly caught her attention. Military torpedoes could be guided by radio signals. However, enemies could easily jam those signals, making the weapons ineffective. Hedy began thinking about a solution. Around this time, she became friends with composer George Antheil. The two came from completely different worlds. One was a movie star. The other was a musician. Yet together they discussed technology and engineering. An unusual idea emerged. What if radio signals could constantly change frequencies? If the signal kept jumping from one frequency to another, enemies would have a much harder time tracking or jamming it. Today, this concept is known as frequency hopping. To help synchronize the frequency changes, Antheil drew inspiration from the mechanisms used in player pianos. Together, they developed a communication system based on the idea. In 1941, they filed a patent. It was an extraordinary achievement. A Hollywood actress and a composer had developed a revolutionary communications technology. But when they presented the invention to the military, the response was disappointing. Officials did not fully appreciate the idea. Some simply couldn't believe that an actress could contribute something important to military science. The invention was largely ignored. Hedy was encouraged to support the war effort in more traditional ways. She sold war bonds and participated in public events. Although she continued acting successfully, the rejection of her invention was a major disappointment. Years passed, the war ended, technology advanced, and gradually, engineers began to realize the value of the frequency hopping concept. In the 1950s and 1960s, similar systems started appearing in military communication networks. The very idea that had once been dismissed was now proving useful. As wireless technology evolved, frequency hopping became increasingly important. Scientists discovered that it could improve security, reduce interference, and make wireless communications more reliable. Eventually, versions of the concept became part of technologies used in Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and GPS systems. Ironically, by the time the world began benefiting from her invention, very few people knew Hedy Lamarr had helped create it. Her fame as an actress remained. Her contributions as an inventor were largely forgotten. Meanwhile, her personal life became increasingly complicated. She experienced multiple marriages and divorces. Hollywood changed. New stars emerged. The spotlight gradually moved elsewhere. For years, she lived without receiving significant recognition for her scientific achievement. Then something remarkable happened. In the 1990s, researchers and historians began rediscovering her work. People were astonished. The glamorous actress they thought they knew had also been a pioneering inventor. Awards and honors finally followed. Technology organizations celebrated her contributions. She received recognition for helping lay the foundation for modern wireless communication. For Hedy, it was validation that arrived decades late. Sadly, she never fully experienced the level of recognition she deserved during her peak years. She passed away in the year 2000 at the age of 85, but her legacy continued to grow. Today, Hedy Lamarr is remembered for much more than her beauty. She represents something powerful, the danger of judging people based solely on appearances. For much of her life, the world saw only a glamorous movie star. Few bothered to look deeper. Had they done so, they might have discovered one of the most creative minds of her generation. Her story also reminds us that innovation can come from unexpected places. Great ideas are not limited to scientists in laboratories. Sometimes they come from artists, actors, musicians, and dreamers. The next time you connect to Wi-Fi, use Bluetooth headphones, or navigate using GPS, remember the woman whose imagination helped make modern wireless communication possible. Hedy Lamarr was not just one of Hollywood's brightest stars. She was a visionary whose ideas were decades ahead of their time. And perhaps the most fascinating part of her story is this. The world celebrated her beauty immediately. It took nearly half a century to recognize her genius. That is the extraordinary story of Hedy Lamarr, the most beautiful woman in the world, who was also a genius.